This story is pretty detailed, so I'm going to get right into it. I'm 22, fresh out of college, and my family has lived in the same three-story house since I was a kid. Quiet suburban neighborhood. Normal life. My bedroom window on the second floor faces the street, and my dad's home office window on the third floor faces the street too. Those two windows are where the story starts, and why I'm convinced someone has been watching my family for years. The first incident happened when I was still in middle school. One weekend morning, I heard my parents whispering in the kitchen. My dad sounded tense, like this wasn't the first time. They wouldn't explain it to me, but my older brother told me what really happened. My dad's a lawyer, and he works late nights at home. Around midnight, while he was in his office, he noticed a Chevy Suburban creeping down our street. So slow it looked like it was barely moving. A few minutes later, he saw the exact same Suburban come back in the opposite direction. Then it parked across the street from our house. My dad watched for a long time. No doors opened. No one stepped out. The car just sat there with dark windows. He kept working and kept checking the window, and eventually he fell asleep at his desk around 2 a.m. When he woke up around 5:30, the Suburban was still there. Same spot, like it had waited outside our house all night. It finally rolled away before sunrise, and my dad couldn't shake the feeling that something about it was deliberate. For years, we told ourselves it was probably nothing. Somebody sleeping in their car. Somebody lost. Then I turned 15, and I saw something that made probably nothing feel like a lie. I was in my room late at night, making beats. My desk is right by my window, so I can see the street without trying. I noticed a quick flicker of light outside, like a reflection, like a signal. I looked up and saw a line of cars moving slowly down the street. At least 3. Then I realized what the flicker was. Flashlights. People inside the cars were shining handheld flashlights at houses as they rolled by, sweeping beams across windows and doors. When the beam came toward my room, I ducked. A second later, the light washed across my ceiling, bright enough to light the whole room, then slid away again. The cars kept crawling down the street, scanning house after house, and turned off at the end like it was routine. The next morning I told my parents. We agreed it looked like people casing houses. My dad installed a Ring camera and added motion lights, and for a while we felt like we'd taken control back. Then a couple years later, a contractor found something in our backyard that ripped that comfort away. He was doing landscaping near the fence and noticed something tucked into a bush. A tiny hidden camera, small like a car key, battery powered, dead battery, and no memory card or SIM inside. So if it recorded anything, it wasn't storing it. It had to be streaming to someone nearby. While it was active, someone close enough to watch our yard in real time. We reported it and checked what footage we had, but we couldn't figure out who placed it or when. It felt less like a prank and more like a message. We can see you, and you won't know when. Time passed. We try to live normally, but once you find a camera on your property, normal becomes an act. A few years later, our next door neighbors moved out, and new couple moved in fast. Young, no kids. The strange thing was how often I caught them upstairs, standing at their top floor window, looking into our yard at weird hours. Late at night, early morning. Not sitting at a desk. Standing. Watching. One night, I was walking my dog and glanced through their kitchen bay window. The couple was sitting at a table, and for the first time there was a third person with them. A man with a face that stuck to my brain instantly. Fully bald, muscular, thick eyebrows. The vibe wasn't friendly. It was calm, controlled, like he belonged there. I must have stared too long, because the woman stood up and closed the curtains fast. She didn't even look outside first. She just shut them, like she knew the moment someone was watching. I tried to forget it. Then last week happened. My family took a trip to Paris. Ran a bar one night. All of us squeezed into a booth, laughing, drinking, talking over each other. I zoned out for a second and glanced across the room. A guy was sitting alone in another booth, slowly sipping his drink, scanning the bar like he was waiting. I couldn't place why he looked familiar until it hit me all at once. It was the same bald man I'd seen at my neighbor's kitchen table years ago. Not similar. Him, in a random bar, in Paris, at the exact same time as my family. I tried to convince myself I was overreacting, but then he looked up and we locked eyes. And I swear there was recognition in his expression, like he knew I knew. He stood up without finishing his drink and walked away. I excused myself and followed, but he vanished into the crowd like he'd done it 1,000 times. A few days later, in broad daylight, I saw him again. Same man, about 50 feet away, holding a professional camera, snapping photos like a tourist. Except the angle felt wrong, like the monument behind us was just a cover. Like the real subject was us. That's when I told my parents everything. Cars outside our house, flashlight beams scanning windows, the hidden camera, the neighbors watching, the man's face. And the scariest part wasn't them calling me paranoid. The scariest part was my dad believing me immediately, like he'd been waiting years for someone else to finally see it too. When we got home, he checked every bit of stored security footage. Nothing. No clear face. No smoking gun. And that's what keeps me up, because it means whoever this is knows exactly how to watch without being seen. So no, I'm not calling it coincidence anymore. If I'm connecting the dots correctly, it's been happening for over a decade. And Paris proved it didn't stay in our neighborhood. It followed us across the world. Which means whatever this is, it's not over. And I don't think the next step is going to be subtle.